look what it is. The other day I was talking that we might get one final little post from ArenaNet. I think I said that in the previous video here, the previous news, the little mini balance patch, but here we are. This is exactly the type of thing that I was expecting, and there's nothing super crazy in this article, but there are actually a few interesting little statistics about how well the game's been doing. It has been a pretty remarkable year for Guild Wars 2. Honestly, I think they can learn a lot from this. Drop no content, basically, have big content droughts, still actually end up growing your player base. That's a Giga Chad Guild Wars 2 move right there. They've cracked the code, but there's also a few other fun things that they're teasing for the start of the next year. And also, it wouldn't be a Guild Wars 2 news post if we didn't have a slightly esoteric and highly obscure teaser image of what's coming next for Guild Wars 2. This is a little bit of a teaser image for the next living world that they drop here. So spoiler alert, there will be people and probably Jade in that. In fact, this does look a little bit like Ruin Kaineng by the looks of this, I think. Kind of the rocks here, or maybe some kind of ruined structure here, but we'll see what they're going to come up with. I'm sure it'll be very exciting and indeed very, very good, right? But anyway, let's kind of dig into the rest of the article here. The introduction is basically saying, wow, we released Ender Dragons. The team poured their heart and soul into bringing Cantha alive. We brought back Season 1. We delivered quality of life. And they actually did do that. The quality of life team, the systems team, whatever, they're on fire. They've been, except the post-processing thing. That wasn't that good. But other than that, it was pretty damn good. We got DX11. We got World vs. World. We got balance patches. Oh my god. And we're on Steam as well. Wow. Insane. That is just wild stuff. It really, really is. And 10 years of Guild Wars 2. It really has been a pretty wild ride for Guild Wars 2. And here's the juicy stuff, right? Check this out. Back in April, we reported that our active player count more than doubled over the past few years, and that Guild Wars 2 Ender Dragons had already outsold Path of Fire. Today, we're excited to share a new accomplishment. This year, we've already seen more players venture into Tyria for the first time since 2015, which was when they made Guild Wars 2 free to play. That is pretty insane, to be honest, right? It's one of the best years for Guild Wars 2 in recent memory, and we're eager to keep building on that momentum. You know, there are two ways to actually look at this, by the way. And the first one is, that's great. You know, the game is really back to growing and being in a good spot. The other thing that, and look, I have to be the slightly realistic, kind of depressing guy here. Guild Wars 2 on launch did actually have a really big fall off. Like, this has always been the issue the game has had, is that players did not stick at all. They kind of didn't get the game, especially in the early days, right? Like, people did not get the game whatsoever. So, yeah, this might not be as crazy as it's, because it sounds insane, right? Like, they went free to play, and it was when they dropped an expansion, and it was way earlier in the game's life cycle. So it might not be super, super crazy, but there certainly have been a huge amount of players joining the game thanks to Steam, thanks to Ender Dragons being a really well-received expansion, and honestly, kind of the way the MMO market is in general right now. So, really glad to hear that. Momentum continues, and another little fun statistic coming through from ArenaNet. And here, this stuff is fun, by the way. Check this out. We'll be back early next year to talk about our Quarter 1 plans, which include wrapping up the DirectX 11 transition, which, by the way, has been alluded to potentially include some graphics updates, better graphics updates, potentially, either in optimization or maybe even some new crazy effects they can do with the DirectX 11 engine instead. World vs. World alliances, and look, this stuff, no one cares. DirectX 11, dude, 11? Not even a good number. World vs. World, no one cares. Let's talk about the actual thing here. Upgrading our in-game browser technology from Coherent to Chromium Embedded Framework. Okay, so that might seem like a bit of technobabble, but basically, some people might be aware of this. The trading post in-game is actually a web browser, right? That's what it is. That's the way it operates. And oh boy, is it annoying sometimes. It's laggy. It bugs out. It's low FPS sometimes. It's not a very interesting system to interact with. In fact, it's really, really annoying. to interact with. And for a long time, ArenaNet have been using this pretty outdated piece of software. There's a few of the nerds have kind of dug around, and there's all sorts of things that are super weird about the way it's currently done, and actually changing this to a more modern framework, which is a very basically a Chrome browser. I mean, everyone loves Chrome, right? Hell, even Microsoft love Chrome. Their Edge browser basically runs Chrome. This could be a big deal. They could potentially make the trading post much more performant, clean up a lot of the issues, maybe even the dreaded "you've been selling things too fast" bug. I don't know, right? Now, I can dream. This could actually be a really big deal, because I think the trading post being quite annoying to use is actually a very severe detriment to Guild Wars 2, because it's an incredibly important feature. You must interact with the trading post in order to make money. You have to. You must, right? And if new players join the game and they find that system annoying, they're going to have a much harder time in actually kind of getting into the game and getting into that progression system that Guild Wars 2 has. So, yeah, I'm actually super happy to see it. This is actually really exciting. And of course, I'm joking. Alliance and DX11 could be really fun too, because again, performance in the game is a big pain point, and anything they can do in that direction is going to be really cool. If they can make the, potentially update some of the game's effects, make it run a bit better, that's going to be really good. And of course, new Guild Wars 2 Ender Dragons content that will look a little bit like this, apparently. But yeah, we're also looking forward to sharing our long-term vision and plans for the game. That's exciting, actually, because there's a hit. This is, okay, right, now I'm going to, look, speculation mode here. This is a bit of a hint that something's going to change. Okay? Maybe I'm crazy. You guys can call me out in the comments. Why would they say this if it wasn't going to be a little bit different, right? This says they actually have a few new ideas. To me, anyway, this says they've got a few new ideas about expansions and living world, right? So I think we're actually in for something a little bit different. I'm not sure what of they're obviously playing it very close to the chest here. We don't know. But this says to me that they might be cooking something up a little bit different to what we've actually had previously. And obviously I can't really say, oh, that sounds good or not, but I do think there are certainly some improvements that could be made to the way Living World has been executed previously. I think that having this more kind of game-wide approach might mandate some changes, because previously it was pretty much the content you got in Guild Wars 2 was just Living World, and occasionally you'd have like a fractal or a raid tacked on, very infrequently. But now with strike missions, that's obviously going to be different. Now with the frequent balance patches, that's going to be different. Now with alliances, that might end up being different. So I think we can actually have a somewhat different approach to the way that ArenaNet is actually developing content for the game for a much more well-rounded approach. Could be very interesting, and I'm definitely looking forward to actually hearing about that. That's for sure. And yeah, I know that ArenaNet do tend to kind of reinvent the wheel sometimes, but I think one of the biggest things that ArenaNet has struggled with is actually having this really cohesive, consistent design model. And honestly, if there's a good time to choose a slightly different design model, then yeah, it's going to be when you've got a brand new leadership team in, or rather a brand old leadership team with, Colin's back, Grouch is back in the mix, and then of course JT as well. Excuse me. Bit of a cough there, guys. A little bit of a cough situation. There it is. Yeah, JT also back in the mix. Well, not back in the mix, in the mix for the leadership team. So it's very big. And, well, they were pretty consistent this year. They actually mentioned this here, that they kind of kept this going with the balance commitments and all that type of stuff. So if they can keep that up, it sounds very, very exciting. But that really is... That really is it. Let's see if ArenaNet will be able to actually kind of keep things up, actually take that momentum forwards and deliver some incredible content in the new year. It's been a bit of a rough one for a lot of veteran players, right? Not a lot going on in the game as the company kind of finds its feet again after a few rough years, guys. Icebrood Saga and all that stuff. Ooh, that's not even, ooh, yeah, ooh. But anyway, I definitely do feel very positive about the game. As we come to the end of the year, I do really appreciate the communication we've seen here, and certainly the design philosophy that Grouch and the new ArenaNet leadership team seems to be leaning towards is definitely one that I think is superior to what we've seen before. So I actually am very, I'm feeling very cautiously optimistic about what we might actually see going into 2023 and 2024. If you want my actual take here, I do still think that 2023 might be a bit of a catch-up year for ArenaNet, because I think it's really important to have some perspective on just what's happened here. ArenaNet basically tried to do Icebrewed Saga and almost move away from the game and work on other projects. They had to rush out an expansion in like half the time as normal. They're working on another expansion. They didn't have any time to prepare Living World, which they normally do while the expansion's in development, so they have to do that now to try and catch up with all the time they lost while they were hyper-developing Ender Dragons. This company has been absolutely going all out, right? For a long time, and it's probably still going to take them a bit of time to catch up. So 2023 might still be a little bit of a catch-up year, maybe not quite as much content as you might expect, right? Because again, they're just doing so much, and they've completely refocused on the game. But I certainly do have a very optimistic viewpoint on what this vision and what this long-term goal might be with this leadership team, as I certainly get the impression they're very dedicated to Guild Wars 2, and I think their philosophy is sensible, right? Looking at balance, looking at skills, right? Making sure that content is reusable, like strike missions, right? Reworking world versus world. So, you know, a really big selling point of the game is up to date and properly maintained, right? Fixing performance like DX11. Now looking at stuff like making the trading post run better. Fixing all the little annoying broken things with the quality of life, you know, kind of a general development team that they now have. And every patch is like throwing in a few kind of nice things into the game to just make the experience a little bit better. I think this is the type of philosophy that can really make the game shine over the next couple of years. So I think it's certainly a very exciting time for Guild Wars 2. And weirdly enough, that's not something I've said unironically for quite a long time, right? I think we all remember the Doom years, okay? We've definitely been there, done that, worn a couple of t-shirts. Well, maybe only one, actually, if you're me, but maybe you guys wear more than one. But, yeah, that's about it. That is it for Guild Wars 2 in 2022, okay? You know, look, let me just throw this down and curse it, guys. 2023 will be the year of Guild Wars 2. To be honest, I actually think it might be closer. If I was going to make an actual serious meme here, I actually think that the next expansion could be absolutely colossal. That's where things could really heat up. Like 2023 might be the warm-up, right? 2024, where we maybe get the next expansion and kind of the full implementation of this new vision actually comes to fruition. That could be where things really start to get exciting. So buckle up, gamers. Okay, and see, look, I've covered myself. Now I can say 2023 and 2024 is the double year of Guild Wars 2. See, that's an extra range, so that means I'm more likely to be correct. But anyway, I think that will just about do it. Let's just marvel at this wonderful and very nice piece of artwork here and sit around the fire at Wintersday at the end of the year of Guild Wars 2. That'll do it. Let me know what you think in the comments, gamers. Tell me how much copium I am on right now. And of course, remember to come and tell me on stream as well. And subscribe on YouTube. And follow on Twitter. And follow on Twitch. And watch all my videos. That's what you should do. Alright, that's it. I'm out of here.